What is going on to all you wonderful people out there? Thank you for clicking on today's video. As you can see from the title, this will be a spoiler-free review of Supergirl. That's right, we are here outside of the theater. It is Monday at 6:25 p.m. I am here to see it early. It's a critic screening, so we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty without spoiling anything. But first, I have to see the film. I haven't seen it quite yet. I'm just going to give you all my pre-thoughts before actually seeing the film, and then come back and give you my thoughts. But before we get into all that nitty-gritty, thank you again for clicking on the video. Consider liking, sharing, leaving your thoughts, your anticipation, your fandom of the DC universe, your fandom of the Supergirl universe. Let's talk about it in the comments below, and consider sticking around by subscribing to the channel. So, for you all that are new to the channel, or new to me, how you doing, first and foremost? But I am a lifelong DC fan. Growing up as a kid, watched all the animated shows, watched all the live-action movies. I bleed DC colors, man. I'm talking Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, you name it, Martian Manhunter, Green Lanterns, everyone in the DC universe is just like, I love it, man. I love this universe. But I will be ignorant to not address the fact that it has been a bumpy road to be a fan of, I would say, the live-action universe world building with the DCU and the DCEU. It's been a rocky experience, to say the least. Now, obviously, we're in the DCU with James Gunn, Peter Safran. We've gotten Creature Commandos. We've gotten Peacemaker Season 1. Well, Season 2 more or less, but Season 1 and 2. We've gotten, obviously, Superman last year, and now we're here with the introduction of a sorts of Kara as Supergirl in her first solo film since the 80s. We're going to be getting Lanterns later this year, and of course Clayface. So I am hopeful that this is a movie that moves the needle, that builds the momentum off of what Superman gave us, which, if you haven't seen my review, I thought the film was fine. I didn't love Superman, but I thought it was a good way to kick off the universe, and I hope that this film can continue that momentum and be different than Superman, offer something new, something fresh, something unique. I'm a big fan of Millie Alcock as an actress with House of the Dragon and Sirens, big fan of Craig Gillespie, the director, and I'm just hopeful that this will be a film that, again, can move the needle, that can bring the momentum, that can get good buzz in the DCU. So I'm hopeful, man. So next time you all will see me, it will be my spoiler-free thoughts of this film. I'm going to be honest, regardless of my fandom. I'm not going to be biased. I'm always honest with you all, with all my reviews. So you'll see me again in about an hour. Well, no, it's about an hour and 47 minutes. I normally chop it up with some of my buddies after the film. So I'll see you guys in about 2.5 hours, hopefully with some good news. But I'll see you guys on the other side. Again, like, share, comment, consider subscribing. And fingers crossed, the Supergirl is a really good time. And we are back from seeing the new DCU film, and that is Supergirl. No spoilers, just giving you all my immediate reaction, and I'm just going to be straightforward, rip the Band-Aid off, not hold back, and be honest with you all. I didn't like this movie. We'll get into it, man, but, you know, if I were to speak positively first, because I always like to get, you know, you see these movies, I see so many movies a year, and you always try to find the good, even if you didn't like something. I will say Millie Alcock, who I mentioned up top, I'm a fan of her work from seeing her for the first time in House of the Dragon and then seeing her in Sirens. And I think she's a good actress. I think she has a lot more room to grow as an actress, but I think she's solid. And her as Kara in this film, as we saw at the end of Superman, and as you can see from the promotions, and once you see the film, you'll get a full understanding of the persona that she gives off, right? Edgy, punk rock, I don't give an F, really follow the rules, and she plays that pretty well. There is the point of the film where she has to put that persona aside and kind of release herself of the trauma that happened to Krypton and everything that she went through with losing her. And this isn't a spoiler. This is obviously just public knowledge about Kara. She's lost everything, right? That's the arc that she goes on, is kind of rediscovering who she is, who she represents, and what she can be for anyone that needs help. So I think Millie does a good job, does a believable job in what she was given, because as we'll talk about later, I thought that this script was really poor, but I thought Millie gave her best, and the best attempt, best efforts was given in Millie's position in which she was. I thought she was like in the suit, which she's not in the suit a lot. She looks the part. I know everyone's raving about Jason Momoa, and don't get me wrong, I'm a Jason Momoa fan, my man, but him as Lobo, I think people are raving about his performance because everything else in this film is just so mediocre and just so stagnant and just so average, I guess you want to say. So for someone to be so bombastic and be kind of over the top, it seems like he's giving like, oh, this is fun. This is Jason Momoa. He's doing something different. So I will give Jason this. He is different. He is giving something different. He gives this film, it's a much needed jolt of energy because it is so bland, but I wasn't over the moon about Jason Momoa in this film. Like, I know some people were saying, give me a Lobo film tomorrow. Like, I'm good. I mean, he could pop in every now and then, and, you know, another director, another writer might have a different interpretation of what Lobo can bring to whatever story the film needs him in. But I'm just going to be honest with you all. And it wasn't a bad performance. That's not what I'm getting at. I just thought that Lobo didn't need to be in this movie. Like, there is literally the dumbest reason that he's in this movie. I shouldn't say dumbest, but the most unnecessary reason that he's in this movie. I mean, he's a bounty hunter. So he's hunting one of the, I can't even remember what they call, Brackens, I believe is the faction of group that the bad guys in this film. And that's the only reason he's in this film. And it's just like, you could have took him out and it would have had no impact on the movie. So, other thing positively, I'm always an advocate of when films give practical effects, and since we are in the space and we're hopping from different planets, there are some decent to good looking practical effects within the different alien species that we come across. There's a couple set designs that I thought looked pretty okay for the most part. I know that there's, again, practicality is a big thing I want to focus on. There wasn't a ton of CGI with the different planets. There were actually boots to ground, very much. You can tell that they were on a practical set and not like on a sound stage. So I'll give the film the props there. And the Kryptonian stuff. The stuff that we learn about Kara's perspective, because we've seen Clark's perspective of what happened when being a baby and not even being born or not experiencing what it's like to be a Kryptonian. But I like that stuff. That was when the film had a little bit of intrigue. It was a little bit of a moment of like, oh, I can feel the emotion. I can feel the weight of the world of what happened to Kara. Like, that section of the film was done pretty well. That's where my positives come to an end. I've said this on my channel before. I am someone that can accept, subjectively speaking, I can accept a bad movie for it being maybe too goofy, too silly, too over the top, not my cup of tea, but it's doing something different. It's even though it might not be for me, I can accept that it's doing something different and unique, even if it wasn't something I enjoyed. And then obviously on the opposite side, when something's great, I think it's great. You know, the writing, the directing, the acting, so on and so forth. I am someone that cannot stand when a film is just average. And I'm not trying to put the weight on Supergirl that is given. It's the second film in the DCU. But I just think about, we've been in this superhero bubble, and I love superhero genre. I love the different stories. I love the characters. As I mentioned, I'm a DC fan. But we're at the point now where we're kind of on the golden age, if you will. We're not in that era anymore. We're kind of at the spot now where it just feels like they're just giving us superhero stuff for the sake of like checking off a checkbox for a studio. Like, okay, we're going to give them a horror. We're going to give them a comedy. We got to give them a superhero movie because it's just the thing to do. This felt like a checklist of a movie. I'm a big fan of Craig Gillespie. Tanya, even Cruella, which surprised the hell out of me. Even the film he did a couple years ago with the GameStop controversy. Like, I think Craig Gillespie is a fantastic artist with a voice, with a style, with a personality. You couldn't have told me that Craig Gillespie directed that film because it was just such a bland directorial direction style. It was just so boring. I hate to be so, I'm not trying to denigrate this film, but I just cannot stand when a movie doesn't just try something different, man. Like, do something, like, make it rated R. Be goofy if you want, be silly, but just to be so minute and be so average and be so mediocre, and we've seen this film 1,000 times. Like, I know there was a lot of comparisons that people were going to say this is Guardians of the Galaxy. I wish this was Guardians of the Galaxy. This was not Guardians. This was like the first script of a Guardians, where it didn't have a pass-through, it didn't have a read-through, it didn't have a heart, it didn't have a personality, just like the bare bones of like a pitch of Guardians, right? This movie just doesn't take any risk. This movie doesn't have any emotional stakes, in my opinion. Like, we got the Ruby story going on with her losing her family. That had no punch, had no emotional weight. No, I'm not going to come at the young girl because I think this is one of her first films, but her character to me was just as flat as a piece of paper on a table. That stuff didn't work for me. Don't even get me started on Matthias as the villain Krim, who was just, all he did in the movie was like, one of the worst interpretations of a villain. And I know Krim isn't that like such a menacing villain in the comics, but geez, do something with him besides just being a goofy ass clown. What a terrible. And again, Matthias is a great actor. This was terrible. His villain was one of the worst villains I've seen in a long time. And that whole group that he was around, again, the Guardians comparison. Think of the Ravagers, but think like a bad version of the Ravagers. Like, it was just everything surrounding the villain was bad. Story, y'all, and I know this is based off of The Woman of Tomorrow, but I know that they took their own creative liberties. The creative choices of adapting Woman of Tomorrow, which I haven't read, but I'm very familiar with it. I know how much of an impact it had on people. But this film, man, is just every corner. Every time I was rooting for it to do something different, to do something, just change it up, it just decided to take the safe way out. It's just such a softball of a movie. A single burger, no cheese, no sauce, no pickles, just a bland ass movie, which is so unfortunate because, again, I already know that people are going to say, oh, he didn't like it because I'm a Zack Snyder fan, or he didn't like it because it starred a woman, or he didn't like it because of he's an MCU. I know all the stuff is going to, no, I didn't like it because this is not a good movie. If you enjoyed it, good for you. But if you look at the film for what it is and there's no agendas here. I want to love this film, but this film just didn't give me anything to love about it. It's just such a mediocre, average movie, which is the worst thing I think you can do. Is just to make a weightless, pointless, uninteresting movie, and that's what Supergirl is. I might sleep on this to give you guys more of my thoughts because I'm not pissed. I'm not trying to rant. I'm just like such a fan of the DC universe and these characters, and I want James Gunn to succeed. I want these movies to succeed. I just want the best for this world, but I just feel like out of the gate, your second film, that you just have such a mediocre nothing burger. It's just disappointing, man. The score, I hated the score. There's so many misplaced needle drops. I couldn't stand so many elements about this film that just was like, could just do something different? I'm going to sleep on this to give you guys more of an articulate review, but these are just my raw emotions after seeing them. I'm very disappointed in Supergirl, but just to let y'all know how I feel right now, I didn't like this movie. And we are back. It is a brand new day. You know, I recorded the first half of the video that you all saw last night, and I slept on my thoughts, and I made an out-of-theater reaction. I read the comments that really meant so much to me. It changed my life, actually. Like, I'm rocking the shirt, man. I'm a changed man. This movie was great. This is maybe the greatest film to ever be made. I was reading the comments from my out-of-theater reaction, and from a lot of people that spoke their opinions about my opinion, which is always something good to do, and how they said that my opinion doesn't matter despite me being a professional critic over the last 4 years, and they know more than me, despite me having a degree in film and video. And I love when people were telling me, like, even though I reviewed something 4 or 5 years ago, that review was bad, so my opinion now doesn't matter because of a whole different, completely different movie. One of the things that really struck me was like the people that haven't seen Supergirl yet and how they shared their opinion on the movie that they haven't seen, and how my opinion again was wrong. It changed me, y'all. Again, we're wearing the shirt. I'm a super fan now. I've been converted. I am here to tell y'all that guy you all saw last night is I don't know who the hell that was. As I was editing the video, I'm like, who is this? He was so wrong. Supergirl is the greatest, not even a comic book, but it is the greatest movie to ever be made. The direction, the cinematography, the performances. There's the villain, Krim, in this film. I mean, you talk about the Heath Ledger's Joker. Are you kidding me? Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. Like, who are Jack Nicholson as a Joker? And then, like, those guys have nothing on Krim. One of the greatest comic book performances ever from a villain. The film's perfect. It's flawless. No notes. Give this film all the awards, including Best Picture. The first comic book movie to ever win Best Picture will be Supergirl. They might even have to make a new award because of how damn amazing this film was. Like, man, I'm so pissed at myself of what I said last night because I was so wrong about my own opinion about a film that I thought didn't work for me. But after reading you guys' comments, reflecting, putting on this awesome t-shirt with Supergirl on it, I'm a new person. This is the greatest film to ever be made, and it deserves 2 thumbs up. Yeah. Go Supergirl. You think they're still here, guys? Supergirl. All right, I think we're good. I think we're in a clear. God damn it. I joke, I kid. Some of it I'm being for real. Like the comments last night from my out of theater reaction, and I posted a couple things on some other social media accounts. It's just like, The people online, man, like they really do say you got to have some thick skin if you want to be, a film critic or someone that shares your opinions on movies. It's crazy, man, the stuff that people say. But I wanted to, as I said last night, I wanted to think about the film more. I want to articulate myself. Like, I have my notes. I do written reviews, if you all don't know that, besides my video review. So I'm gonna read off my written review to you all here in a second. But I feel the same as I did last night. The film didn't get better, didn't get worse. It just stayed neutral. Like, I really do feel like this is such a mediocre movie that has so much potential. And I'm here to read you all, again, a more articulate, give you my full thoughts of the film, of course, without spoiling it, but just diving deeper into a more well thought out description of how I felt about seeing Supergirl. So let's talk about it. So Supergirl was a frustrating, mediocre superhero film that never comes close to reaching its full potential. While Millie Alcock proves she's an inspired choice for Kara, the movie surrounding her feels like a hollow attempt to recreate the quirky, fun space opera magic that was in Guardians of the Galaxy, but without any of the wit, the charm, the heart, or the visual creativity that made that film special. Going back to Alcock, I do feel like she fully does commit to the role, bringing on this edgy, rebellious nature to the character that really fits the punk rock theme that the film was trying to establish. There are flashes of a great Supergirl movie here, particularly in the Krypton flashbacks, which were easily the strongest sequences in the film. Also, something I forgot to mention last night because I was just so thrown back by how mediocre the movie was. And this isn't a spoiler, he's in a trailer, but Superman's in the movie. And I thought that seeing David Corenswet reprise the role his second time as Superman and Clark Kent, he really is great as Superman. Even though, as I said last night, I thought Superman last year was it was a fine movie. You can watch my review on it. We're not here to talk about it. But I thought his sequences, because he actually does have quite a few more scenes than I thought he was going to have in the movie, they worked. I thought that when we saw Superman and their chemistry and their banter, their back and forth, was a highlight for the film. And it offered a glimpse of the larger DC universe at its best. But unfortunately, almost everything else falls flat. The script is clunky. The pacing is awkward, the dialogue often feels overwritten, the humor in this film hardly sticks the landing, and it felt like it was misplaced in an early 2000s superhero movie. The action lacks excitement, and the visual effects lacked imagination. It lacked creativity, and it easily looked like it was just any other superhero movie that you've seen before. The movie also suffers from the dull cinematography, with several sequences lacking the visual flair expected from a character making their big screen debut in their solo outing. I can't stress enough how terrible the villain Krim is in this film. It's embarrassing, if I'm being honest. Some people were comparing this to Mad Max Fury Road, the people that saw this 2 weeks ago, and the only comparison I'll give it without spoiling anything, there is the way Krim and his crew of bikers, if you want to call them that, who are trafficking kids. Again, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but there is an angle where they're collecting brides. So I guess there is a comparison to Immortal Joe, who's collecting the brides in Fury Road. So there's the comparison. But other than that, there's no other thing that reminded me of Mad Max other than that little bit sequence. But going back to Krim, he looked bad. He sounded bad. Again, all the facial cues and just the lack of dialogue, the lack of stakes. The film mentions once that he has the strength of 1,000 men, and they display that by him catching a tank at one point in the film, and that was the only level of strength that they show in the film. But other than that, he got his I don't want to spoil anything, but the villain is terrible, horrible villain. Throw him away. It was just disgraceful how this villain was portrayed in this film. Now, I mentioned Ruthie last night, played by Eve Riley. I unfortunately just found her emotional storyline really struggled to connect with that due to not only the performance, but also I just was never sold on the arc from the character. We're told 3 or 4 times, I come from this family who was, and again, this is in a trailer, who was taken from me. My innocent family was murdered, yada, yada, yada. I'm and the little girl, there's moments, right? A little bit of intrigue, but unfortunately, again, her arc just didn't work for me. And I feel bad because she is a young actress, and I'm sure she's going to get more opportunities to really showcase her acting abilities as she gets older. But I just did not buy into Ruthie, didn't really care for the character, and I didn't really care for her emotional story. What makes Supergirl even more disappointing is that you can see the better movie hiding beneath the surface. At times, there are compelling emotional themes and interesting ideas presented, but they are buried beneath an inconsistent screenplay, uninspired execution, and again, one of the weakest comic book villains you'll see all year. Again, I want to go back to that story. I know they took the bare bones and the foundation from the comic book, but the way they adapt that in this film is just like, it's overwritten. It's very predictable. It is so bland on so many levels. Again, the stakes really feel non-existent. The threat feels non-existent. The pacing of the story and how things come together just felt so underwhelming. And I know the writer, Ana, who I can't think of her last name right now, I hate to put a writer in a box and say, if you did one bad movie, that means you can't do other good movies. But it does make me nervous because I do know, as of right now, James Gunn, this is like their golden goose. She not only was responsible for writing Supergirl, but they have given her the Wonder Woman writing responsibility. She's also rumored to be writing the Teen Titan movie. And based on what I saw in this film, that makes me nervous. But always think about Marcus and McFeely, the writers who did Thor Love and Thunder. The writers that did Thor Dark World. They redeemed themselves by writing Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. So not everyone has their best day at the office. I do hope that maybe Ana can learn from her shortcomings in this script and maybe do better with Wonder Woman. And if she does do Teen Titans, she can have a better grip on the characters, a more imaginative script. So again, I thought the screenplay was pretty bad, and I hope that things can only get better for her because again, I thought that the script was really mediocre for this film. At the end of the day, it's not a complete disaster. It's not the worst movie you're going to see all year. It's not the worst comic book movie of all time. But for a character as great and rich and compelling as Supergirl, and for a talent like Millie Alcock, this felt like a major missed opportunity. I just felt like this character deserved a stronger introduction, with her having her first feature film since the first time since the 80s. And I do feel like fans of the character just deserved a film that truly allowed this character, Supergirl, to soar, which this film, unfortunately, did not do that, at least for me. So those are my final thoughts about Supergirl, a film that had a lot of potential, but just decided to just play it safe and just give us an average, mediocre film, which is just so unfortunate in my opinion. But I'm still a DC fan, man. Again, as a fan of DC, I have had my fair share of disappointment, but I'm very much excited for Green Lanterns coming to HBO Max in August, I want to say. And then we got Clayface in October. We got Man of Tomorrow next year. And then hopefully we'll have more about The Brave and the Bold. We have the Wonder Woman potentially coming out in the next few years. We got Batman, Matt Reeves' Batman coming out next year. I know that's a separate thing, but I'm still a fan at heart. I just wanted more for this character. I wanted more for this movie. I hope it finds its audience because right now the tracking numbers don't look that well. They're saying that it might be like Flash numbers, maybe even worse than Flash, but we'll see. Again, I never root for a film to be a failure, but it's not looking good for Supergirl. But let me know in the comments respectfully. Again, we're talking movies, y'all. This isn't, for me not liking this movie, it isn't me coming at you as a person. I don't even know who you are, right? So let's be respectful in the comments. Even though this film didn't work for me, it might work for you. That's great. Let's have a civil conversation about it. Let's not get nasty, calling people names. And you know, it's sometimes the internet can just it could be very disappointing when you look at it. But neither here nor there. Share your thoughts in the comments. What worked? What didn't work? What do you hope to see in the future for this character who will be a big part of Man Tomorrow? Let's talk about it in the comments below. Thank you all again for watching this video. If you could, like the video, share the video, hype up the video. I really appreciate that. And also consider sticking around because we are literally on the doorsteps of 100,000 subscribers. And I couldn't have done that without you all. So if you all want to stick around and enjoy the journey that we've been on so far, help me reach that next milestone, that would be awesome. So again, thank you all for watching or listening. Hope you all stay safe. Remember, you all are awesome. And I'll catch you all on the next breakdown.